Let's face it, folks, it's a Georgia National Signing Day discussion. Can there be anything really wrong with it? We're talking with Savannah Lee Richardson from Dawn of the Dog. Please join her work right there. Dawn of the Dog with Savannah Lee Richardson. Savannah, hey, how's it going today?
Going well, getting over the whole signing day coverage and everything else, and it's now into the official off season. It's kind of weird, but Georgia's still national champs, and we're just going to ride it out and enjoy it.
National champs until next January, and who knows, maybe they can keep it going.
That'd be
They'll
nice.
certainly be in the hunt. So, number 3 in the SEC, number 3 in the nation, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia. It's difficult to really, this Texas A&M class is off the charts, but so is Georgia's, as usual. So it's another great haul. And unlike some of the other top teams in the country, they weren't done on National Signing Day. They got 3 keys added to the roster, especially Christian Miller, who I believe chose Georgia over Ohio State. I think it was down to those 2. So he stays home and chooses the Dogs.
Yeah, Christian, it was between Ohio State and Georgia, and even Miami kind of put a little bit of a push there towards the end. But Georgia put it on him back in December when he came for a visit. He's been to campus a few times, and I just think that his relationship that he built with Trey Scott really evolved. And then you count the relationships that he made with the Georgia players at the All-American game. That was something that he talked about yesterday as being a really big deciding factor. But he may only be the number 14 defensive lineman in the country, and that's wonderful. But I think he's kind of almost underrated in a sense. The kid's got really nice length, really good off the snap, and he's going to make Georgia fans really happy in the future. Between him and Bear Alexander, who signed in December and enrolled, that's a really good duo. We've seen Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis these last couple of years, and then now you have Jalen Carter in there. But Georgia needed another big man to kind of plug up the front, and Christian Miller is that guy. And so I'm excited about him. I think he's going to come in, and he's one of the people that I believe that could get some early playing time this coming up season.
Christian Miller checks in at 6'4", 300. Top 100 player in the country, according to 247 Sports. So there you have it out of Cedar Grove High School there in Georgia. So next on the list, we go to E.J. Lightsey. So he is a linebacker, and he stays in state as well.
Yeah, he was a Florida commit for a while, and then he decommitted from the Gators and kind of reopened his recruitment, and Georgia kind of came in there, not necessarily late, but they showed a little bit more interest after the December signing period when a couple of guys decided to go elsewhere, and then Shamar Stewart, who ended up going to Texas A&M, really just kind of backed off. And so EJ was the next guy right there in line. And after kind of watching his film and stuff, I kind of think of him as like a Channing Tindall 2.0, somebody that Glenn Schumann can really develop and turn into like a headhunter that Georgia needs at that position. I like his size at 6'2", 210. He's quick. And he's really smart on the football field to be not only a 3-star. See, I hate saying that anymore because Kirby is getting these really high character kids that are coachable and willing to learn, and that's exactly what EJ is. And he's one of those kids that you didn't really know about, but the fact that Georgia got him from the Gators and is going to make him into, somebody we might as well call Georgia LBU at this point with Nakobe and all them. But EJ is definitely somebody I'm excited for. He's just kind of got that tenacious, gritty attitude that you want out of a linebacker. And so Georgia's going to need it with Nakobe and all them leaving. Not necessarily think he don't think he'll get too much playing time this coming up season, but he definitely could by the end of the year be someone that Georgia relies on as kind of like a depth purposes to come in when the starters and stuff need some breathing time.
If you're elite, you definitely need your share of 4 and 5 stars. It needs to be most of the roster, but at the same time, there are plenty of 3 stars playing in the NFL, tons of them. So top 50 linebacker in the country, top 500 player, E.J. Lightsey out of Fitzgerald High School. And then it's a running back out of Dallas, Texas, in Andrew Paul.
Yeah, this to me is the steal of 2022. I don't think anybody really knew just how good this kid is. as a running back, there's sometimes you explode as a freshman, and then all 4 years you get a ton of attention, and then other times it takes to your senior year to kind of get the developmental things going, to grow to the right size and stuff. And Andrew kind of did that throughout high school. He got better each and every year. And this past year, I think he ran for 2,800 yards and 40 something touchdowns, averaging about nine yards a carry. And watching his film, great breakaway speed, really good vision, patient between the blocks, waiting to be able to find those holes and stuff. And if he gets into open field, unless you have a really quick secondary player, he's not going to get ran down. And so I just think that him and Branson Robinson, the other running back that came into the class in December, they're a really good duo, and it's somebody that's going to make Georgia fans really happy. Some people are comparing him to Todd Gurley. I think he kind of looks like Todd Gurley, but kind of a mixture with Nick Chubb as well. Just really smart, really athletic. But that kid, of all the 29 pledges that Georgia got in 2022, he's my favorite. And the craziest thing is Georgia didn't offer him until January 23rd. Dale McGee found him, went through his tape, went to visit him, and in a matter of a couple of weeks, he's convinced him to not go to Clemson and to come to Georgia. If that doesn't tell you that Dale McGee's a closer, I'm not sure what else does. But Andrew's going to be a big asset, and Georgia needed depth in the running back room. I don't think a lot of people realized that they only had 3 or 4 scholarship running backs in that group. And then with James Cook and Zamir White leaving, you had Kenny Mack, Kendall Milton, Dejon Edwards. And then other than that, you kind of needed some extra help. So you got Branson and now Andrew, and it's exciting. That kid's just, he doesn't even know how good he is. Nobody knows how good he is. And that's what's the exciting thing is about him.
Well, I do think that most of us just always assume that Georgia's stockpiled with running backs,
Oh, yeah.
and that's just the way it is. They don't even have to go get them. They always have like 6 4 and 5 stars in the room, but they have figured out some depth for 2022, obviously, and then maybe he breaks in and really starts to make an impact starting this fall, and then, of course, into 23 and beyond. Got Savannah Lee Richardson on the line from Dawn of the Dog. Check out her work right there. And I think that you hit on something that we lose sight of, is that we're talking about student athletes that start to get recruited when they're 14 or 15 years old. And the difference between a 15-year-old and a 18-year-old can be, some of them go through the growth spurt and put on the pounds and the weight early, and there's not a huge difference. But for most of them, there is a huge difference. And some of them burst onto the scene and boom, really show it as freshmen and sophomores. Others take time to, again, grow into their bodies and really get comfortable and find themselves and find the right position. It's not where they're not playing both sides of the ball, most of them, and maybe they were given attention somewhere, let's say wide receiver, but they're really a better cornerback for college, and they really didn't focus on that. A lot of things happen during a high school football career that changes perspective and evaluation on these guys within a year or two.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that kind of gets taken or gets pushed aside. Even some kids that kind of blow up early on, like they don't finish high school as well. And like you were saying, they may have to switch a position to go do something else, even though they were doing the other one for 4 years. But that's something that I feel like Georgia does a really good job at, finding out who needs to go where and if they're at a proper position or not. And Tay Crowder is a guy that comes to mind, who started college out as a running back and finished it as a linebacker, and now he's really successful in the NFL as a linebacker. So there's one guy, but Andrew Paul is somebody that definitely had to grow into himself. And I read a really neat article about him yesterday, and how he didn't care that he didn't have any offers early on. He just knew that as long as he kept working, he would find the place that would be his next home for the next 4 years. And he did. And he made a really good statement about, if you're a running back, why would you not want to go anywhere but Georgia? And I think Georgia's reputation speaks for that too. And probably another cool thing is Todd Gurley tweeted out and was like, oh yeah, I got him a good one. And so that seal of approval says everything. But yeah, that's why I love the recruiting rankings, because it gives you something to discuss and talk about and everything. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of kids they overplay their expectations, or they overplay their recruiting rankings. And like Lab McConkey was a 2 or 3 star, and Georgia took a chance on him and he was the third leading receiver. Jordan Davis was a 3-star. And so while I love the recruiting rankings, I think it's almost silly to have them at times for certain kids in certain positions.
So it is a big class with 29 signed, 18 already enrolled and on campus and working out. And what was there a particular theme to this class or a particular anything that comes to mind in regards to what Kirby was going after, what the coaching staff was going after? Was there a certain focus on certain areas of the country that might have been a little bit different than in the past, or certain positions that needed to be supplemented?
Georgia definitely went into Florida this recruiting class and plucked 5-star Marvin Jones Jr. out of Florida, Jaheim Singletary, a 5-star corner out of Florida. They didn't really focus too much on in-state recruiting, and they got the kids that they needed out of in-state. I'm not going to say that because Georgia always recruits Georgia well, but Florida was definitely a state that I felt like they got a good chunk of their top 10 players instead of them staying in the state of Florida, which was huge. And then the biggest emphasis, in my opinion, for this class was defensive linemen and defensive backs. Georgia, in my opinion, Georgia probably signed the best defensive back class in a long time. And probably one of the most defining factors about them all is none of them are super like prima donna or selfish or anything like that. They want to know who else is coming in, so they know who their teammates are, and they want to play for Georgia regardless of, even though that they know that there's like a few guys in front of them. And that competition and drive and stuff is what I think has been really fueling the last couple of recruiting classes for Georgia. And that's kind of what Kirby is doing. He wants high character kids that succeed off the football field as well, and don't necessarily just depend so much on football that they have to choose a school for the NIL deal or whatever. But yeah, the defensive back class is really good. And then I really like the defensive line class as well. Christian Miller, Bear Alexander, Darius Smith, who signed yesterday, 6'6", 240, 250. He's another guy that I'm excited for. And then Sean Washington, another 3-star at 6'3", 297. He's kind of like a Devontae Wyatt kind of big plug-in. But yeah, we needed depth in those areas because Georgia could lose a bunch after this season as well. So it's going to be about reloading. And I think they did a really good job. They added 5 offensive linemen too. I just overall just think Georgia got what they needed to without overloading one specific position or anything like that. I think 2023 will be a big year for wide receivers. But for this one, I give everybody an A+ for what they did recruiting wise for Georgia. Only losing Jordan James, the 4-star running back, to Oregon was huge when Dan Lanning left. So the fact that Georgia could keep everybody was also a big thing to me.
Savannah Lee Richardson, check out her work at Dawn of the Dog. Savannah, we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll have to preview some spring football because I think we're about 5 or 6 weeks away. It's coming.
And it'll be here before you know it. And then we talk about off season, but we'll be there. I think they start practice at the end of February or early March, and then G Days in the middle of April. So he'll be here before we know it, and can't wait. Already got calendars counting down. I just didn't remember to check it before we started talking.
All right, Savannah, we'll catch you later. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.